Toronto Maple Leafs have made multiple surprising moves ahead of a huge game tonight in the Leafs' return. We're going to break that down, discuss some new updates, as well as Austin Matthews and Mitch Marner. They came out and spoke out following what was a very exciting Four Nations face-off. Stay tuned for all that in this episode. But before we get into it, if you're part of the 71% who aren't subscribed to the channel, this is the place to be for daily Leafs content. We will be live following tonight's game, so if you're enjoying it, make sure to hit that subscribe button. And thank you guys again for your continued support as we're on the road to 15,000 subscribers. But Darius, finally, Leafs hockey is back. It feels like it's been ages, and there's some surprising moves being made by Craig Berube, and a lot to go over today. And let's dive right into it without further ado. Here we go. We're going to start with the goaltender tonight, and this is actually a pretty interesting story because we're not exactly sure who is going to start in net, whether it be Stolarz or Joseph Woll, because obviously both goaltenders are fully healthy, fully ready to go, and fully rested for sure. Stolarz is in the home net tonight, and he's playing the Hurricanes, and then Joseph Woll is going to play the Blackhawks. So maybe giving a bit of some foresight on what goalie they trust more as of right now, and that is Anthony Stolarz playing the better team tonight in the Carolina Hurricanes. And very interesting. Do you have any thoughts on this before we dive into lines and some of the other updates?
Yeah, I'm not entirely surprised. I mean, Anthony Stolarz, when he's played this year, has looked like he is the starting goalie for the Toronto Maple Leafs. So he's going to get the harder matchup today. And Joseph Woll, he's going to have a tough time tomorrow, too. I mean, Chicago, they're not a great team, right? But I mean, the Leafs are going to be on the second half of a back-to-back. There's so much put into that every single time that it happens. So, it's not going to be an easy game still. So I want to see what he can do tomorrow. And both of them coming off of a extended break. I mean, Stolarz played, I think, only one game in the last 2 months at this point, right? So I am very excited to see what he does tonight and how sharp he looks against a pretty good Carolina Hurricanes team. Mikko Rantanen is in town. We just talked about him yesterday as well, so should be an interesting game in that way. But yeah, it should be a great game. And we're not sure, actually. We'll get to this later in the video if some of the Leafs' top guys are going to play tonight. It's looking like it, but it should be a good game nonetheless.
Yeah, you see here, Matthews and Marner were both not present at the ice for the Leafs optional skate. They are both expected to address the media, which they did, and we'll dive into in a minute here. But an interesting move that they made here is Alex Steves, and we were unsure if he was just a placeholder for Matthews and Marner and just forwards. And it's not the case. He is going to actually get in a game where he's projected to return to the lineup for the first time since late November, and that's very, very interesting. Let's dive into the lines a little bit before we get a couple of the injury updates here. So the projected Leafs lineup tonight just dropped from Mark Masters. It's Nyes, Matthews, Marner, McMahon, Tavares, Nylander, Domi, Holmberg, Robertson, Lorentz, Kampf, and Steve. So this is an intriguing one here, and I want to get your thoughts on it. It looks very good. We finally have a fairly healthy lineup aside from Max Pacioretty. Alex Steves factors in there. I like the chances of him getting a goal. I mean, obviously, he's a big goal scorer in the Marlies, set the record there for Marlies. And it's interesting now because he's in the fourth line. Maybe he can give some offensive boost to what's usually a pretty physical, tame offensive fourth line.
Yeah, I'm not expecting much, to be honest, from Alex Steves tonight. I'm not sure what he's going to be able to do with those two players. I would have liked to see if he played higher in the lineup, but I get it. You're not going to move Domi down at this point. Obviously, Robertson has, I think, earned his spot at least on the third line this season, right? I don't think he should be playing on the fourth line. That would be a waste of a roster spot, and that way you could have somebody else in there. But Holmberg, like, I want to see what he can do now coming back from this break, because obviously they're going to make a trade here, right? So, like, is he going out the door? I want to see what he's going to do. The other guy, to get away from the forwards, because it all really makes sense to me, the forward group. I'm not, too surprised about it. But, McCabe and Tanev playing together again, which is great because they've been great together. But Morgan Riley, we haven't talked about him in a while. He struggled this season, right? Like, if everyone can remember 2 weeks ago, a couple bad games again, but when we last saw him, he was playing a little bit better. So I want to see what he can do coming back from this break, and if this break, allowed him to kind of reset and get back into the flow of things.
Yeah, and he's paired alongside OEL with Benoit and Timmins. And speaking of Max Pacioretty a little bit, he is injured and will not play this weekend, and Steves is taking his place. So an opportunity for Alex Steves to hopefully, I mean, like you mentioned, he's not being put in the best situation to actually get points or anything like that,
Yeah.
being alongside Lorentz and Kampf. But it's going to be interesting to see what he can do with both Holmberg and Robertson on the trade block, according to like the reports that are out there. So Max Pacioretty won't play this weekend. Cal Yarncroc also won't play this weekend, but I think he's nearing a return very soon. Craig Berube came out yesterday and said, although he's not playing this weekend, it could be some point soon. So maybe over the next couple weeks, week or so, we'll start to see Cal Yarncroc factor into this lineup. And Craig Berube spoke out a little bit on Alex Steves, and he said he's got the capability of putting the puck in the net for sure. He's an effort player. He works extremely hard. He's competitive. We'll see how it goes. And I mean, I think he has an okay chance of, being somewhat of a contributor. This team lacks goal scoring outside of the top six. The third line has been really rough lately when it comes to actual production, even the fourth line to a degree, but you can kind of get away with it because they have some of the intangibles there. I'm curious to see now how or get your thoughts on Holmberg and Robertson and what they have to show in order to maybe make an impact before the trade deadline because this third line, including Domi, has been a little bit better as of late, but that third line has been really bad, and there's a good chance that following the trade deadline, that third line specifically is, two-thirds of it are gone.
Yeah, I think I wrote off right away at the start of the video, Steve's even scoring tonight. Like, it's definitely possible. I think it's just going to be hard because he's not going to play that much, and he's playing with Rents and Kampf, right? Like, I think it's going to be very hard for him to score, but he can add some goal scoring to the bottom of the lineup in that way. I want to see what he can do tonight because obviously he's been having a great season. His confidence is very high this season, right? And that can do wonders for a player. So I am interested to see what he's going to bring to the lineup tonight. But you bring up a good point about the third line. They haven't been good. Domi has not been going almost all season to this point. Robertson's shown flashes. I haven't liked Holmberg's game at all this year, and this is coming from somebody who's a huge Holmberg fan normally, right? In past seasons, I was like, this player is awesome. Like, I love him in that third line role. Hasn't figured it out this year. I don't know if it was the change in the play style, something with Brube. I am not sure what it is, but he hasn't figured it out. So I am looking at him as well. Like, what are you going to do in the next couple of games? Because you could be gone next week, right? Like, there's a very real possibility he's gone, and they're going to bring somebody else in. I think they're bringing somebody else in anyway, but it really depends on, are you hanging on to that player? Maybe David Kampf is being moved because of the salary cap situation. So it's going to be very interesting to watch, but he's got to do something because he has not been good this year.
Yeah, a lot of moving parts. And speaking of the top guys, they're projected to play tonight. Matthews and Marner, that is, on the top line, playing back together after going against each other for a week or so. And you can see this here. Mitch Marner and Austin Matthews flew home together from Boston on Friday following the finals. Marner mentioned that they talked about how fun the tournament was, but also how demanding it was in their bodies due to the high level of competition. And that's an interesting thing. I mean, we expected it. I mean, I don't know what the expectations necessarily were coming into the Four Nations face-off for a lot of these guys, both fans and players. It ended up being about as competitive way more competitive than I expected, and ultimately, obviously, ended up being very physical, probably more physical than an NHL, usual game because of the high level of talent and how fast the game speed was. And Matthews came out and said it's tough. It means a lot to wear that jersey and have the opportunity. You never know how many chances you get at representing your country and playing in a tournament like that. Definitely still sings, but you flip the page, and they're gonna have to flip the page. And I mean, hopefully they're good to go tonight. Obviously, their bodies are probably worn down a little bit, which is, I mean, it was a great hockey game, so you can't really complain about it. But from the Leafs' perspective, it's you're going to need both these guys fully healthy to win this game tonight because you're going up against a very strong Carolina Hurricanes team, and like you mentioned, Mikko Rantanen, among others. It's going to be an interesting game, and I'm curious to see how both those guys look like on the top line, and if they're healthy, and how tired they actually do look following the Four Nations face-off a couple of days ago.
Yeah, I'm interested to see what they do tonight, like their energy level. But I'm also looking towards, like Tavares, Nylander, McMahon. They've been on like a break for the last 2 weeks. What are they going to do? They should have a lot of energy, right? And throwing the body around. So I'm looking towards those guys to really make an impact tonight. Again, like Matthews and Marner, they should make an impact still, but I get it. They just played a game like 2 days ago at this point, right? So, and it was a really emotionally draining game, physical game, like they alluded to, right? And there's a great quote from Brandon Hagel where he was like, if all the players are coming in and treating this like an all-star game, I'm going to stick out because I'm not going to do that. They were all playing for their country, right? So it doesn't surprise me that I got physical and they were really playing hard because at the end of the day, yes, it wasn't the Olympics, but you want to win for your country. So really emotionally draining, I think, but they're back now, so they should be all right. I'm looking towards them to see what they can do tonight. But I'm more so looking to other guys like what does Morgan Riley do tonight? What does William Nylander do tonight? Because he's had a longer time off, right? He's been playing too. He's not rusty or anything. He was playing. He got eliminated earlier, so I'm looking towards guys like that to make an impact tonight.
Yeah, Nylander's probably in the best scenario. He's played hockey lately, not hasn't had the full 2 weeks off, but he still had a little bit of time off to get his body right. But let us know down below what your thoughts are on all of that. It's going to be a wild one, and we'll be live following the game tonight. So thank you guys for watching. See you later.